All right, ladies and gentlemen, buckle up because I'm coming in hot with that 2:30 energy today. Why is that? Because we have the news and a lot of it. We've got Guy Ritchie and Sherlock Holmes. We've got He-Man and Ryan Gosling news. Obviously, everybody loves some Ryan Gosling news. So let's just go ahead, buckle up, and do it. Now, before we get started, I should tell you, if you are not a user on Criticlist, make sure to go to criticlist.com. That is critic and then less, but one word, criticlist.com, or you can find us in the Android and Apple stores. We're an entertainment reviewing platform where you can make lists, create groups like this Criticlist Cast group here, and you can just talk about movies and TV shows and everything that you're currently consuming and enjoying. So just make sure to come in, say hi, leave a review, make a list, do all that fun stuff. And more than anything, just make some friends and control the conversation around entertainment because we're the ones that need to do that, not the critics. And while you're at it, make sure to go over and hop into the Criticlist merch store and check out some of the stuff we've got. We've got some awesome hats, stickers, shirts, and a lot of art from really cool independent artists. So make sure to go and take a look at those. And as always, make sure to, on this YouTube channel, go like, subscribe, follow, all that fun stuff because it helps us a lot and it helps us with the algorithms and everything. But on to the news. So first and foremost, what I want to talk about is Guy Ritchie directing a young Sherlock Holmes series. And this is actually going to be for Amazon, if I'm not mistaken, but we can dig into it a little deeper. Basically, what's going on here is that if you aren't aware, Guy Ritchie made some Sherlock Holmes movies about a bajillion years ago, and everybody loved them. And then he kept trying to get them made over and over and over again to do a third sequel to the series with Robert Downey Jr., but it just never happened. And so now it looks like he's resorted to going a different route and making a young Sherlock Holmes series. But I'm hoping that it kind of has a lot of the same actiony fun vibes that he did and kind of put an interesting new spin, his very much Guy Ritchie spin on Sherlock Holmes. So maybe with this, he can just adapt it and bring it into young Sherlock Holmes. And this is actually going to be based off of a book series that is already in existence. And from the sounds of it, what is going on here is that this is going to be a Prime Video straight to series order. So in a sense, this is kind of like what he's done with The Gentleman, which is a movie that he made, and then he made a TV show for Netflix recently that, from what I gather, did pretty well, but has not been brought on for a second season yet. But this is actually going to be a TV series for Prime Video, and they said straight to series, so it sounds like this is a full-on go. And the big news here is that they have cast the actor who is going to be playing the young Sherlock Holmes, which is Phineas Tiffin. And he was in the most recent Guy Ritchie film, which was Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. Now, he didn't get to shine, but nobody really got to shine in Ungentlemanly Warfare because of the fact that the cast was just so stinking big that there just wasn't a lot of time to focus on any specific person. But I do think that this is awesome news. Sherlock Holmes is a passion project for Guy Ritchie. He loved making those movies, and he's been trying to do this for so long now, and after Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law just got so big and famous, I think it just became nearly impossible to schedule these two to just start doing this series again. So I'm honestly not surprised that this is the route that he's been forced to take, but honestly, it could be cool and just a new start on this entire franchise and what people have come to expect from Sherlock Holmes. And we've gotten many different adaptations, like Benedict Cumberbatch over the years and his series that was awesome and excellent for the BBC, but that came to an end. And then, there was the other series that we've already been talking about. So this is just something new. And he says, in Young Sherlock, we're going to see an exhilarating new version of the detective everyone thinks they know in a way they've never imagined before. Ritchie said in the statement, "We're going to crack open this enigmatic character, find out what makes him tick, and learn how he becomes the genius we all love." And basically, they kind of go through and say who's the showrunner and who's writing this thing and all the other folks behind it outside of Guy Ritchie, who's, going to be directing it and being, it sounds like he's not actually the showrunner, though, which I find interesting. That's going to be Matthew Parkhill. And actually, it sounds like he's bringing over some of the team for this that he used for the Gentleman series recently with Netflix, which is a good sign because it sounds like that was mostly a success. I haven't watched it yet, but I love The Gentleman. I've seen that movie like 4 times. I think it's one of his best recent films. But it says the series is an action-packed origin story of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's beloved detective in an explosive reimagining of this iconic character, reads the logline. At age 19, Sherlock Holmes is disgraced, raw, unfiltered, and unformed when he finds himself caught up in a murder mystery at Oxford University, which threatens his freedom. Diving into the first ever case with a wild lack of discipline, Sherlock manages to unravel a globe-trotting conspiracy that will change his life forever. I mean, this sounds really cool, and it sounds like a great way to kick off this character. We are really starting from scratch with Sherlock Holmes, not as a little kid, but, at a point where he is, developing as an adult and clearly, dealing in this college setting. And I think this could be really fun. So I am all in. I typically am on board for whatever Guy Ritchie meddles with in one way or another anyways. And it sounds like this is somebody that he's previously worked with this guy. He likes him and clearly has plans. And actually even Ungentlemanly Warfare had connections to Sherlock Holmes. So clearly, like, this is a world that Guy Ritchie wants to work in. And when that is the case and someone's really passionate about it, the chances of success are a whole lot higher. So I say let's do it. Now, on to the next piece of news. I want to talk about He-Man, because if you have been following anything with He-Man, it has gotten so crazy and convoluted over the years. This movie has been in development for so painfully long. We'll dig through the article. They actually break down some of that. And I mean, when you talk about development hell, the He-Man movie has gone through it worse than just about anything I've ever seen before. It's kind of bonkers. But the news here is that they have actually cast our He-Man, and it is going to be Nicholas Galancy. Colini. I do not know how to say that last name, and I'm a butcher of names anyways. So there we go. It's Nicholas. He's going to be playing He-Man, and this is also some more Amazon MGM news. And it sounds like they're just chugging out some news in general today. So basically, this guy, you might have seen him because he is one of these up and coming actors. Now, the weird thing is, first off, I want to address, if you look at this and you look at He-Man, I don't know that this guy quite has the look. Obviously, he's not a blonde dude, not even naturally blonde. Hair's gotten darker over the years. This is just a full-blown brunette dude. I mean, maybe he'll come into the look a little bit more. And this is kind of one of these up-and-coming actors. He's been in a lot more things lately. And I did manage to find a photo of him with some blonde hair, which is right here. So I kind of dug into him a little bit within Criticalist to kind of see if I could find any more info on him. Now, granted, he did this show, which was Red, White, and Royal Blue, which was apparently a new Amazon show, which was a romance comedy show, which was hella gay. And now he is been doing some other things, but the big one is this Idea of You movie, which was also an Amazon film that he did. And this is kind of another one of these rom-com type movies, but with him being this up and coming star, I think that obviously, he's already got eyes on him. He's clearly a decent enough actor that he's pulling in these lead roles already. So, whatever he's done, clearly he did an audition that impressed some folks, and this is going to be the role that he's in. Now, kind of breaking down a little bit of what is going on with this movie, it is looking like director Travis Knight is actually who's going to be doing it, which is the director of the Bumblebee movie. Now, a lot of folks didn't see it, but I can say that the Bumblebee film is easily the best Transformers movie that has come out in ages, and it was much better than I expected, and I actually had a lot of fun with it. It was set in the 80s. It was kind of more of like a semi-origin story for Bumblebee, but I thought Travis Knight did a really good job, and I think he's a solid director. So it sounds like, he's partnering with Amazon and MGM, and they're planning on really, digging into this. And right now they are saying that the film is going to come out in theaters on June 5th of 2026. So, they've got 2 years or so to make it, and they'll probably start production fairly soon, I would guess. This has been, right here, they break down and they say Masters of the Universe has endured a particularly torturous 2-decade-plus journey to the big screen. The project was first at Warner Brothers, then at Sony's, and then moved over to Netflix. And then they axed the movie in 2023, which I was following all of this over the years, and it just got insane. It was hard to even follow. And then they said that, as they break it down as far as the directors attached to it, which was the Kung Fu Panda director John Stevenson, Wicked Helmer John M. Chu, Charlie Angel's filmmaker MCG, the Lost City duo Aaron and Adam Nee. And so it's just gone through director after director. And initially, actor Kyle Allen was set to play He-Man, and I actually thought that he had more of the look than this guy does, but they can do wonders with hair and makeup and all that fun stuff. So maybe this dude will fit the look a little bit more as time goes by. We'll see, and we'll see if he gets a little more jacked and gets into that character. But which also, if you know anything about He-Man, typically He-Man is played by two characters. So, there's the young version, and then when he becomes He-Man. And actually, speaking of He-Man, you probably can never see this, but I've got the 80s poster of the movie with Dolph Lundgren right behind me, because that movie is epic and not many people have seen it, and it's pretty dumb, but also kind of awesome in its own right. But anyways, I mean, this movie has been an absolute mess, and my kids have recently gotten into He-Man, or my son specifically, because they've done some animated shows, but they did like 2 animated shows on Netflix, one of which all of the fandom turned on because they were like, hey, how about a He-Man show? But not really, just kidding. This is another girl boss show, not including He-Man at all. And then they tried to turn the ship around after like the 2nd or 3rd season, and by then no one gave even half of a crap, so no one watched that one. But they did do another more kid-friendly He-Man show that my son watched a lot of, liked it a lot, but it wasn't quite on the same page as like what we know as He-Man, traditionally. Whereas the other show, which everybody turned on, was more traditional He-Man, but it was Masters of the Universe, but it sucked. So anyways, this plans to, get back to the roots of the character, start from scratch, really, dig into what He-Man initially was. And, as far as Amazon Studios goes, they can very much be hit or miss. And it is quite often one or the other. It's a real hit or it's a real miss. I hope that this is not the miss, and that this is actually that they do a good job with this. I mean, with having this actor and, him being, one of these younger it actors that's coming up on the scene, maybe folks will like him and they'll show up even just for that. So I'm interested to see when they show him in character and we get some more production details. But I'm tentatively excited about this movie, and hopefully this is not more along the lines of the absolute mess that that this movie has gone through over the years. But from what it sounds like, it is going to be in theaters at least, so that's good news. And actually, we've got more news connected to Amazon. And that is that the Anatomy of the Fall star Sandra Haller and is going to co-star with Ryan Gosling in a Project Hail Mary adaptation for Amazon MGM Studios, and is going to be produced by Amy Pascal. Now, if you don't know, Amy Pascal has been around for a hot minute, and she was actually Sony Pictures Television's like one of her high ups, I guess, internally within Sony, and recently left to kind of start her own production company. And it sounds like this is the first to kick off that whole move. So there is a lot of interesting details about this movie. I did not know anything about it until this casting news came out. So I'm kind of glad to find out about all this now. So basically, the news is technically that Sandra Haller is going to be in the movie with Ryan Gosling. But there's a lot more news in here, if you don't know about this movie, that I find a whole lot more interesting than that. So what this is first off, this is going to be directed by Phil Lord and Chris Miller. That alone is big news, because if you've been following the career of these guys, they've been connected to a lot of cool stuff, and they were going to be even bigger in Hollywood and then seemed to get railroaded a little bit at some point. But they're the guys that did the Lego movie. They did 21 and 22 Jump Street. Like they know comedy, they understand it, and they also understand action as well. And they've been tied to a lot of other projects over the years and have just been producing things. And I am all in for anything that they touch for the most part. So the fact that Phil Lord and Chris Miller are directing this is really good news. And then they're also saying that this is going to be a script by Drew Goddard. Now, if you don't know who Drew Goddard is, he is the guy who wrote and directed Cabin in the Woods and Bad Times at the El Royale, 2 of my absolute favorite films. I love them both. If you have not seen either of them, do it now. watch Cabin in the Woods and watch Bad Times at the El Royale. They are both awesome, but he's been connected to a lot of bigger things as well, like Lost and Cloverfield and Daredevil. And so, I mean, this guy does good stuff. So the fact that he's writing this is also a very good sign, being that he's paired with Phil Lord and Chris Miller. So basically, what this is this is a sci-fi film, and the next bit of awesome news is that this was a book written by Andy Weir, who did The Martian. So, I mean, the great news about this film just kind of keeps piling up, and that this is going to be in theaters and is projected for March 20th, 2026. So, which is right around that same time as He-Man. So this will be an interesting year. But so what this is based off of is that the story follows a middle school science teacher, Rylan Grace, who wakes up in a spaceship with no memory of who he is or how he got there. He must figure out how to complete his interstellar mission to save Earth from an astronomical catastrophe completely alone, until he meets a mysterious alien who has traveled light years to save his own species from the same fate. This sounds really cool, and it goes into a more sci-fi spin than what The Martian did, which has me excited. And with all this team involved, just everything about this sounds awesome. So I am completely here for Project Hail Mary. From every aspect of it, it just sounds pretty epic, and I'm game. Like, all of this is good news. This has been a day of awesome news, especially after several days of not much news at all. So we've got a lot of things to look forward to, and I'm excited to see as the production continues on all these movies, and it's going to be a lot of fun stuff to track going forward. So I think that's it for the news today, guys. As always, like I said, make sure to get on criticals.com, download the app in Android or Apple stores, and go check out our merch in our merch stores. And then, as always, like, subscribe, follow, all those fun things. And thanks for joining me, and I will be back again tomorrow to do this again later.